Today's reflection is entitled, Overcoming Plotting. When Jesus left, the scribes and Pharisees began to act with hostility toward him and to interrogate him about many things, for they were plotting to catch him at something he might say. Over the past few days, we have been reading St. Luke's version of Jesus' woe to you rebukes of the scribes, Pharisees, and the scholars of the law. Today's gospel concludes these rebukes of love by pointing out that these religious leaders did not convert. Instead, they began plotting against Jesus so as to catch him at something he might say. This is what happens when people use God's holy law as a weapon to attack. Normally, we take inspiration from the Holy Scriptures in a positive way, meaning by reflecting upon Jesus' words and actions and applying them to our lives. However, we can also learn from the evil others commit and allow their actions to inspire us to avoid their sin. In today's gospel, we are invited to ponder the obsessive plotting of these religious leaders so as to consider whether we also are guilty of their sin. First, note that at the conclusion of Jesus' rebukes, these religious leaders began to act with hostility toward Jesus. Normally, when we act with hostility toward another, it is done with the mind frame that we are right and they have done something wrong. We justify our hostility by pointing to their perceived sin. However, it must be understood that every act of hostility on our part is a clear indication that we have started down the road of sin and are not justified in our obsession. Notice also that these religious leaders exercised their hostility toward Jesus by interrogating him. In other words, in their anger, they kept asking him questions so as to find some fault with him. They tried to trick him and trap him with their speech using God's very law handed down through Moses and the prophets. But they manipulated that law so as to justify their hostility and, out of pride, to falsely accuse Jesus. Think about any times in your life in which you found yourself somewhat obsessed with what you judged to be the sin of another. Hostility in this case can even be passive, meaning you may present a kind disposition on the surface, but interiorly you are obsessively thinking about how you can condemn the person. Often when this happens, we can feel justified in that we convince ourselves that justice must be done and that we are the dispensers of that justice. But if God is in control of our lives, He will not call us to obsessive plotting in regard to another. Instead, when we are following the will of God, we will sense Him inspiring us to act with immediacy, calm, joy, kindness, honesty, and freedom from all anger and obsession. It is entitled, The Value of Special Vocations. Some people are called to a unique life of prayer and solitude within the context of religious life. In particular, there are those called to the eremitical life or the cloister. These holy souls are separated from the world and spend their days in quiet prayer and work. But what value does this life have to the world? This is an important question to understand. From a worldly point of view, they add little to society. They may be looked upon with curiosity and intrigue, offering inspiration and admiration, but little more is rarely understood of their life. Never underestimate the incredible value of these holy vocations. Their life of hidden prayer and sacrifice brings delight to the heart of our Lord and is a constant source of His mercy in the world. In fact, without these holy souls, the world would be in grave danger. Through their lives of prayer and sacrifice, the Lord withholds much of His judgment and issues mercy in its place. What is your understanding of the value of the hidden vocation of religious? Seek to understand the great value of their vocation. Look to them for a deepening understanding of the spiritual life and trust that their prayers are a source of much mercy in your life. Additionally, reflect upon the fact that you are called to imitate their lives of prayer to one extent or another. Though you may not be called to the cloister or to live as a hermit, you are called to a deep interior life of prayer. Allow these holy souls to teach you by their writings, their witness, and their unique vocation. They are an abundant source of mercy in our world. Seek God's mercy through them. Jesus, I trust in you.